This is The Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars from the Fort Hall School of Government and Professor Mutahi Ngunyi. This Sunday, we will give an end-of-election report card, and we'll begin with the man they call Baba. For swearing himself in, we give Raila an A+. In fact, we will add a star to the A+ to make it an A+ star. But for not knowing what to do with himself after swearing in, we give Raila an E-. Now he is president without portfolio, a job he cannot explain to his wife without looking like a cartoon. But the genius of deluding himself that he's president can only be admired. Bravo, Baba. To improve on his E-, we will send Raila a book from a junk prophet. We will send him Peeling Back the Mask. This book is a reality show that describes Raila from close range. If the book had not been written by the deplorable Muguna, it could have been written by family. It is brutal in its truth. And the thing that Raila needs now is a brutal reality check.
Miguna is a junk prophet, but maybe Raila should listen to him. Miguna has a point. Someone is killing Baba slowly. The reason why we gave Raila an E- is because he has refused to see this conspiracy. Raila is like the old donkey that carried the burden of building up Mudavadi and Kalonzo when they were at zero. He trusted them. But now that they do not need him, they want to bury Baba alive. But will they? Once upon a time, a farmer's donkey fell in a dry well. The donkey was old and the dry well needed to be covered up. And so the farmer saw an opportunity to get rid of the old donkey and cover the well. He started to pour soil into the well. But as the soil hit the donkey shook it off, stepped on it, and raised itself. This motion happened for about an hour. And to the surprise of the farmer, the donkey he had wanted to bury had risen from the bottom of the well to the top. And this is Baba for you. Even with his E-, you cannot bury him alive. Or can you?
Now we will give the end of election report card to President Uhuru Kenyatta. He gets a straight A+ with a star plus for steadfast leadership of the country during the election. If, let's imagine, Raila had won the election and Maraga had nullified it, country would have burned. In fact, if Raila had won the election and Uhuru had sworn himself in as people's president, Raila would have arrested Uhuru and tried him in Kepenguria for treason. But Uhuru is more measured than Raila. However, if you ask any Kenyan to show you tomorrow, their answers are shaky. Yes, the dangers of 2017 are over. However, there is no closure to the mess of 2017. No one knows what tomorrow looks like. And because of this, we give Uhuru Kenyatta a D+ for not creating a predictable future. Yes, we give him the same D+ that Joho carries. Uhuru dealt with the past, but he did not make the future predictable. In fact, he seems to have wished away the problems that caused 2017. And this is why we will send him the Dictator's Handbook to improve on his Joho D+.
I must play the devil's advocate on Uhuru's D+. And surely you cannot compare Uhuru and Joho using a D+ as the lowest common denominator. This is intellectually lazy, and we must revisit. Unlike Joho, who eats politics with his mouth open, Uhuru is an invisible operator. Now you see him, now you don't. During the day, Uhuru does the big four, but at night he meddles in the affairs of NASA, pitting one leader against the other. During the day, Uhuru hates politics, but at night, Uhuru eats politics. This is why the country is stabilizing. In fact, I would not be surprised if Uhuru and Raila meet regularly. We must entertain this thought because nations are made from such absurdities.
Similarly, I would not be surprised if Uhuru had a hand in the LSK election. I would not be surprised if he did this from the underground in order to complete the removal of Maraga. If any of this is true, you cannot give this kind of genius a D+, like the one of Joho. We must revisit the great. I give Uhuru's political vision for Kenya an A.
I do not agree with the assertion that Uhuru has dealt with the past but has failed to make the future predictable. And I say so because the best way to predict the future is to create it. Uhuru is creating the future in slow motion right before our very own eyes, and is creating it by doing absolutely nothing. First, he has told us that national healing is political nonsense, that the country is not sick. Just because Raila is hurting and licking his wounds after the election does not mean that the country needs national healing. And by doing nothing about this, the country has begun to heal, in my view. Second, Uhuru has completely trashed the idea of national dialogue. He has refused to talk to Raila, and by doing nothing about this, he has told us that the people who need dialogue the most and urgently is NASA. And this is because from the start, NASA was a clever hoax. If Raila wants an election in August, for instance, the NASA MOU does not allow him to run for presidency. But he will still run MOU or no MOU. And he will also run in 2022 and 2027. He will continue running until the kingdom come. Now this kind of disease can only be cured through dialogue in NASA and not dialogue nationally, in my view.
Now, we will give a grade to Deputy President William Ruto. As a young member of KANU, he was the man least likely to become president. In fact, when Mzee Moi was mixing political acids to create a successor among the Kalenjin, he had in mind a prince. But to his surprise, the acids produced a hustler. For reading the signs of the times correctly as a hustler and making the right choices, we give William Ruto an A. Hats off, sir. However, history has taught us that the struggle is hardest when victory is nearest, and that in political struggles, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. The question we ask, therefore, is this: will Ruto make it to the finishing line as president? In our view, he will make it with an A-. And we deny him a full A because we want him to go and improve on his grade by reading The Kenyatta Succession, a book by Joseph Karemi and Philip Ucheng. The main lesson on Arap Moi in this book is simple. Maisha ni kujipanga, my friend. But this is easier said than done.
And now, we will give a grade to the bearded sisters of NASA. In supporting Raila, we give them an A for effort. However, for achievement, we give them an E-. But for cleverly abandoning Raila, we give them a B+. Let me explain. Once upon a time, a bird was frozen by the snow and about to die. Just then, a cow walked by and pooped on the frozen bird. The warmth of the poop began to melt the snow on the feathers of the bird. This revived the bird. As it struggled to get out of the poop, a cat showed up. It responded to the cries of the bird and decided to help it out of the poop. But when the bird emerged from the poop, the cat ate it up without thinking twice. To the bearded sisters, therefore, the lesson is this: not everyone who poops on you is your enemy, and not everyone who removes you from poop is your friend. Although Uhuru pooped all over Kalonzo and Mudavadi, he's not an enemy. And because Raila removed them from poop, he's not necessarily a friend. This is why they have now abandoned Baba.
And now, our final thought. It is a post-election grade for Maraga David. But before we grade him, we want to make a comment on Chebukati. We want to commend him for being consistent. In the August 8th election, the distance between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga was a steady 11%. This is what the electronic results showed. And in the LSK elections this week, conducted by Chebukati, the difference between the winner and the number 2 was also 11%. And for giving the nation a consistent figure, we commend Chebukati. Turning to Maraga, we grade him on patriotism with an E-, and on politics an F. Politically, Maraga operates like a village magistrate with a job in Nairobi as Chief Justice. He does not understand politics. And this is why he will do something as ridiculous as going to his village to vote in a presidential election. Then invite the media to cover the event. As practice, this is not acceptable anywhere in the world. But to improve his F grade on politics, we will send Maraga a book entitled Politics for Dummies. It will help him before Uhuru removes him.